Hello, welcome to Lawrence County History Corner. This week I am talking about the Lawrence County school systems, and it's going to be quite a walk into the past. I'm actually going to be looking at 1875 and what the schools were like back then. For the 1874-1875 school year, $85,360.67 was set aside to pay for the school year. For those of you who are curious what that means in modern money, it would be $2.6 million. $68,785.14 was paid out to the different places, which is about 2.1 million today. $42,384 was sent to teachers. $13,454 was for sites and buildings. $9,560.61 was for fuel and contingency expenses. There were 118 schools districts in the county. 129 schools, so quite a bit more. We only have 7 districts now. There was 158 rooms in the schools. So as you will, if you count out, some schools literally only had one classroom, one room schools. The majority of them would have been one room schools at this time. $114,664 was the total value of the school's property. So all the property combined in the schools was $114,000, which would be about $3.5 million today. There were 9 schools being built, which cost $9,414. One of them was in Ade Township, 2 were in Decatur, 2 were in Elizabeth Township, 1 in Mason Township, 1 in Upper Township, 1 in Washington, and 1 at Delta, that would be near South Point. There was 164 teachers, 63 were women, and 101 were men. And 144 taught the entire school year. So not everyone, 20 of them ended up quitting before the school year ended. There were an average of 24.39 average weeks in the session for the school year. So just over 24 weeks. The most weeks spent in school was done by Hanging Rock, and they spent 40 weeks in class. 39 weeks were spent in Upper Township. Ironton Schools was in session for 38 weeks. The least amount was in Mason Township, where the schools was only open for 13 weeks. So just barely over 3 months. The average wage, not surprisingly, there was a difference in wages between the male teachers and the female teachers. The male teachers made $43, which would be about $1,314. Female teachers averaged $36, which would have been about $1,100. Ironton, not surprisingly, since it was a city and one of the more prominent areas, paid the most. The men made $61. That would be about $1,800. And the women made $41, which would have been around $1,200. Fayette paid the least, with $35 for men and $27 for women. For those of you who are curious how little $27 would have been, it would be $825. There were 8,108 students. Interesting thing, there was more boys than girls, 4,365 boys and 3,813 girls. The average daily attendance, that means across the entire county, was 4,798. There were 909 students aged between the ages 16 and 21. So over 900 of those students were actually close to adulthood. So they actually, keep in mind, during different times in our country's history, 18 didn't mean you were an adult. 21 meant you were an adult. So this would have been at that time period where 21 was the age for adults. Keep in mind too, because the kids helped at home, working on the farms, school may not have been a priority, so it may have been, graduation may have been pushed back. There may be a lot of reasons. Of the 909, 520 were boys and 389 were girls. It cost $15 per student for the entire school year, and that's around $458. And that is what Lawrence County education was like in 1875. I know there's a lot of numbers being thrown out, but I thought those were really interesting just to see just how much the times have changed. And I hope you enjoy this piece of Lawrence County history, and I will see you next time.